Hey guys, this is my guide to how to be valuable as a Ret Paladin. So this is my guide to Ret Paladins. Sit down, shut up, buckle up, and get ready to learn something. Recently, there's been a really big power surge of Ret Paladins due to a certain streamer, and I would just like to show you guys how to actually be valuable to your team as a Ret Paladin. Most people will tell you that Ret Paladin is not viable because anything that a Ret Paladin can do, a Holy Paladin can do too. Which to some extent, this is true. If you want to play a damage class, Ret Paladin is not for you. Ret Paladin has 2 damage abilities. Yes, they can pull off massive burst, but it's very niche. You don't have a lot of mobility. You have to gap close. In Battlegrounds, it's a lot easier, but let's just stick to the basics right here. Paladin's a support class, not a DPS class. So, what's the difference between Holy and Ret? Yes, Ret has damage, but you don't class them as a DPS class. You class the Warrior as a DPS class. You call a Ret Paladin a DPS class, people will just laugh at you. The reason why Ret Paladins are so good is because they're so versatile compared to Holy Paladins. Yes, Holy Paladins have access to all of their auras and all of the blessings, the same as a Ret Paladin, but Ret Paladins have more time to cast these abilities, as well as doing damage, whereas Holy Paladins will be even more of a support class, whereas I'll be healing your teammates as well. So, let's get started. First point is just to nail it down in you guys, you're not a DPS class. You will not be topping any DPS meters. You're playing a Ret Paladin. You will be cleansing your teammates. You will be blessing your teammates with sacrifice, freedom, protection, lay on hands. Now, it's much better for you to dump your lay on hands than a Holy Paladin because their mana pool is way higher than yours. Get that in your head. So, let's talk about blessings. You have 3 of the usual blessings which you can use at all time, which is Blessing of Might, Blessing of Wisdom, and Blessing of Light. Now, as a Ret Paladin, you're probably going to be blessing with Blessing of Might because you get improved Blessing of Might. Some healers might take this, they probably do, but obviously when you can, you're giving Blessing of Might. And if it's a caster, Blessing of Wisdom. You never really give Blessing of Light as a Ret Paladin unless you're going full spurg and you're healing. So, and then we get to the more juicy blessings. Blessing of Sacrifice, Blessing of Freedom, and Blessing of Protection. Now, Blessing of Protection has a 3-minute cooldown if you have the talent Guardian's Favor, which reduces the cooldown by 2 minutes and increases your duration of Blessing of Freedom by 6 seconds, which is actually insane. So you have a 3-minute cooldown, which makes players invulnerable to physical attacks for 10 seconds, which is great, right? It can be dispelled, especially by shamans. You want to be using this and in clutch situations. It's a pretty baby move. It's pretty easy to use. It's quite a no-brainer. The other 2 are a bit more complicated. So Blessing of Freedom, 16 seconds with a 20-second cooldown, and it makes people immune to all snares and root effects, which is insane. It can be dispelled, bearing in mind. You're probably going to be using this 90% of the time on your warriors or healers. Warriors, because it's basically, if you have this on them all the time, there's a 4-second downtime. 16 seconds uptime, 20 seconds cooldown, 4-second downtime. So your warriors are going to be absolutely, like, free movement, What more could they want? They'll be your best friend. But if you look at Sacrifice doesn't sacrifice a lot of damage, but it does get you out of CC. And as a Ret Paladin, or any type of Paladin, in a Battleground, you're going to be CC'd. Because you have the power to cleanse your teammates out of CC. So people are going to CC the shit out of you. So what you need to do, you need to keep that Sacrifice, 30 seconds? Yeah, last 30 seconds. Put that on one of your healers, keep it there. Don't take it off. Because if you take that off and you get polymorphed, you're going to sit that full polymorph if no one's watching you. And if you have that Sacrifice on somebody, the second that polymorph goes on you, you take that 55 damage from a Sacrifice, you're Gucci, man. You're back in the fight. It's broken. They're trying to CC you again. Ticks again. You're absolutely unCCable unless it's a stun. Fears broken. Polymorph's broken. It's Blind's broken. All of it broken. So that's the main point about blessings. You got to keep that in mind. Blessing of Sacrifice needs to always be up. Another thing is, all of your blessings can be purged / dispelled. So you really need to keep an eye on buffs on your teammates. If you're not buffing your teammates, then you're really not being valuable to your team. And this guy is about being a valuable Ret Paladin. A lot of Ret Paladins I see in Battlegrounds, they don't have auras up, they don't buff. It's a tragedy. Just remember, when you die, you do not keep your buffs and you do not keep your auras. So Ret Paladins, please keep those up at all times. So another thing about Ret Paladin is the aura switching. Aura switching can be done as a Holy Paladin, but it's better there as a Ret Paladin because you're not always spam healing your teammates. Essentially what aura swapping is you swap auras depending on what spells are being cast at you. Now, if you're against a mage, you're probably going to be using either Fire Resist or you're going to be using Frost Resist aura. If you're against a Shadow Priest or a Warlock, you're probably going to be using Shadow Resistance aura. Now, not only does it mitigate damage, it can also mitigate CC. For instance, Fear from Warlocks or Priests can be resisted with Shadow Resist up. It's 60 resist, which is pretty good. I mean, it's one of the best things about Paladin kit. So if you're always switching auras, people are going to want you in their groups. If you're not, I mean, go play another class. Let's see what this mage wants to do. So as you can see, he's going to cast Frostbolt on me. I see I resisted it already. Easy. Oh. I fire resist, right? So every time he casts a spell, I'm going to be switching from fire, frost, fire, frost, depending on what spell he's casting. Now, when I get close to him, and I can finally use my big damage, I'm going to switch it into Sanctity. And you don't want to be in Sanctity all the time, because Sanctity is 10% damage where you could be resisting a full Frostbolt, Firebolt, or Fear. So, yeah, you really don't want to be in Sanctity unless you're doing damage, right? So, take it from me. You switch into Sanctity, you do your damage, and then you're going to switch back into Fire Resist when he casts a Fire Spell. You stay in there, you might just get bursted down. It's a life or death situation. Another thing you have to look out for when playing in a group, because as a Ret Paladin, you do not want to be playing solo. Ret Paladin, or Paladin in general, is a class group. It's a class. You're going to play in a class. There's just no other way to play it. If you don't play something else, play Rogue. So if you see that your teammates are being spam frostbolted, then you're going to switch to Frost Aura for them. And if you see CC is going to be in, like a Fear, you see someone's being casted Fear, your healer's being casted Fear, put a Shadow Resist on. Maybe your healer will thank you for it. Maybe he won't. But this is how you'll be useful with your aura switching. Another point I want to make, it's quite a short one, is don't be afraid to heal. Yes, you're a Ret Paladin, but you still have a big mana pool. If you're running deep Ret, your heals still heal quite a lot because you will have points in Healing Light. Ret Paladins, you do have a lot of mana. You cast Holy Light. It's only what, 10% of your mana in combat. It's like 1/3 in combat. It's really not a lot to ask. And for a mage, that's all of their health. You know, if you have the mana, use it. You know, if you're carrying pots, use them after you use it. You're all about supporting your teammates, and you need to support your teammates. Otherwise, why are you playing Ret Paladin? Just on the back end of this, guys, this is my first video. I've never done editing, and I've never really spoke in front of a camera before, so I'm sorry for it being a bit jittery, and the editing being a little scuffed. Just on a side note, Ret Paladin, in most eyes, is a meme spec. If you're not playing it properly, then you shouldn't be playing it at all. And if you're not supporting your team, then you're not going to get any kills, and your team isn't going to get any kills either. You're wasting a slot. It's the same in raids. So on that end, I will be making more videos on PvE and PvP. Feel free to watch them if you want. If not, fine. But anyway, thanks for watching, guys. See ya.